Zainab Al Kubra, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayha. This noble lady, this virtuous lady, has several titles. One title which is given to her by al-Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam after Zainab salamullahi alayha gave her sermon in Kufa. After the sermon, he told her, Anti bihamdillah alima غير معلمة, that you, by the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, are a scholar, alima غير معلمة. What does غير معلمة mean? You were not taught. What does that mean, you were not taught? Zainab salamullahi alayha never had to go to a school where she sit down and learn from a teacher. She learned from who? From the Ma'soom. She learned from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, Fatima alayhi salam, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, Hassan and Hussain alayhi salam. She learned from the Ma'soomeen. So you are a scholar who learned from the Ma'soom, from the ulama. The ulama, I mean Ahlulbayt alayhi salam, the scholars. When Imam Ali alayhi salam went to Kufa, some of the women in Kufa told their husbands to ask Imam Ali alayhi salam that Zainab would hold a Quran class to teach them. Imam Ali alayhi salam asked Zainab, would you mind teaching the women Quran? She said, if you give me the permission, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, then I don't mind. I can teach them. He said, of course, no, permission is granted. And she started teaching the women in Kufa Quran. Now, here is a testimony, an indirect testimony from Amir al-Mu'mineen when he tells Zainab, you're allowed to teach the Quran. What does that mean? She must understand the Quran. She has to be qualified to teach the Quran. Otherwise, Imam Ali salamullahi alayhi would not just let her go teach the Quran. She is qualified to teach it. That is a testimony from her father. And one day, he walked into the house and he heard her teaching the women about the letters Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ain, Sad. After the class ended, he called her. He said, my daughter, do you know what these letters stand for? She said, teach me, my father. He says, there is an interpretation for these letters. The first letter, Kaf, represents Karbala. Ha represents halakul itra, which means the killing of the progeny of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. They'll be killed. Ain is referring to the thirst, atash of Imam al-Hussain, atash al-Hussain. Kaf, Ha, Ya is referring to Yazid. Ain is referring to the atash, the thirst of Imam al-Hussain, and Sad to the patience, sabr al-Hussain alayhi salam. And then he started to cry. He started to cry, salamullahi alayhi. She asked him, why are you crying, my father? He told her, my daughter, for what will happen to you and my son Abi Abdullah al-Hussain. That brings pain to my heart. But this is the alima. This is the scholar, Zayn. This kind of scholarly education is very important. This is the blessing that Allah has given us, this alima. And Islam, in her example, has shown us real example of women taking part in society actively. She was with her mother Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam when her mother gave the famous khutbah, the sermon. At the time, Zainab was either 6 or 7 years old. She memorized the whole sermon. And in fact, she's one of the narrators of the sermon of Fatima al-Zahra. Zainab is the narrator. A 7-year-old child. How could a 7-year-old child learn an entire sermon when she only hears it once? Now you know why Imam Sajjad says you are alima ghair muallama. You were not taught by any ordinary human. You were taught by the Ma'soom. You were taught by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, guided by Allah to learn. This is real example. And that gave the fruit of her talk in Kufa and Sham. One of the ulama, may Allah bless his soul, he passed away now, not too long ago. He says, I had a heart attack and I collapsed. My family called the doctor. The doctor came. He looked at me. The doctor said to my family, why did you call me for a dead person? Why did you call me? He's not going to make it. Nonetheless, take him to the hospital. He said, they took me to the hospital. He said, I was alert. He fell down, but he did not pass out initially. He said, I was alert at the whole thing. They took me to the hospital. At the hospital, on the bed, I snoozed a little bit, my eyes closed. There, next to my bed, I saw a Sayyeda Zaynab salamullahi alayha. And this alim is a Sayyid himself. He says, I saw my aunt, Ammati Zayn. My aunt, I saw her. She's standing next to my bed and she's looking at me. He said, I opened my eyes. He said, I had never seen a Sayyeda Zaynab salamullahi alayha before. This was my first time, ever. The story is being narrated by the alim himself. He himself says it. He said, my brother came to visit me, who is also a alim, is also a mujtahid. He came to visit me. I told him of what I just saw. He said, don't be surprised. I gathered all the family in the house. He said, I did, his brother, speak. I gathered all the family in the house and I told them all to start reading the Quran, reading the ziyarah of Zaynab salamullahi alayha, and to gift all that thawab to Zaynab salamullahi alayha, asking her to give you a recovery, inshaAllah, to grant you the recovery. And that's what has just happened. This alim says, I got up as if nothing had happened and I went back home safely. This is the virtue of this lady, Zaynab salamullahi alayha.